Remember when everyone had a GPS device stuck to their car windshield? When portable DVD players were in every minivan? When Microsoft thought they could kill the iPod with something called a Zune? The 2000s were a weird time for gadgets. Companies were trying to figure out what came after CDs and VHS, what came after flip phones, and they released some genuinely insane products. Some of them sold millions. They were everywhere, and then, almost overnight, they all disappeared. Killed by smartphones, killed by streaming, killed by better competitors. But these aren't just forgotten gadgets. These are gadgets that destroyed companies, ended careers, and cost billions of dollars. One of them was supposed to save Microsoft's music business. It failed so hard, it became a punchline. Another one was a billion-dollar industry that vanished in like 2 years. So tonight, I'm going to tell you about 5 gadgets from the 2000s that you probably forgot existed, and the dark stories behind why they all died. Quick thing, if you're into tech nostalgia, forgotten gadgets, and the stories behind why they failed, this is your channel. We cover all the tech that time forgot. So yeah, subscribe if you're into that. Alright, let's get into it. And we're starting with Microsoft's biggest consumer failure. 2006. The iPod is dominating. Like, dominating. Apple has 75% of the MP3 player market. Everyone has white earbuds. The iPod is a cultural icon. And Microsoft is furious. They're watching Apple make billions from music, and Microsoft, the biggest software company in the world, they're getting nothing. So they decide to compete. Not just compete, destroy. They're gonna make an iPod killer. Better hardware, better software, better features. They call it the Zune. Microsoft pours hundreds of millions into this. They hire designers, build new software, create a whole ecosystem. The Zune isn't just a device. It's supposed to be Microsoft's answer to iTunes, to the iPod, to Apple's entire music strategy. And in November 2006, they launch it. Except the Zune has some issues. First, it's brown. Like poop brown. Microsoft's marketing called it chocolate brown, but everyone just called it ugly. The iPod was sleek and white. The Zune looked like a brick. Second, the Zune software was terrible. iTunes was smooth and simple. Zune software was clunky, confusing, and kept crashing. Even Windows users hated it. Third, and this is the big one, it wasn't compatible with iTunes. You couldn't transfer your iTunes library to a Zune. So if you already had an iPod and 1,000 songs on iTunes, buying a Zune meant starting over. Nobody wanted to do that. But Microsoft had one feature they thought would save them: wireless sharing. You could beam songs to other Zune users wirelessly. Microsoft called it social music. Problem was, nobody had a Zune. So who were you going to share with? It's like building a social network where you're the only user. Holiday 2006. Microsoft projected they'd sell 1 million Zunes. They sold 1.2 million, but only because they were heavily discounted and retailers were bundling them with Xbox consoles. 2007. The iPhone launches. And suddenly, everyone realizes that dedicated MP3 players are dying. Why carry an iPod and a phone when you can have both in one device? Apple sees this coming and pivots to iPhones. Microsoft, they double down on the Zune. They release the Zune 2, the Zune 3, the Zune HD. Each one gets worse reviews and sells less than the previous one. And then, in 2009, something hilarious happens. Every 30 gigabyte Zune, the original model, stops working simultaneously. On December 31st, 2008, at midnight, every single 30 gigabyte Zune crashes and won't turn on. Why? A leap year bug. Microsoft's engineers had screwed up the date code, and when 2008 ended, the Zunes couldn't process it. Millions of Zunes bricked overnight. Microsoft had to release a fix, but the damage was done. The Zune was a joke. 2011. Microsoft quietly kills the Zune. They don't announce it officially. They just stop making them, stop supporting them, stop talking about them. Total Zunes sold over 5 years, about 2 million. The iPod sold over 400 million. Microsoft lost over $1 billion on the Zune. $1 billion, and they got nothing for it. The Zune didn't slow down the iPod. It didn't establish Microsoft in music. It just failed. The people who worked on the Zune? Most of them left Microsoft. Having Zune Team on your resume at Microsoft was basically a career killer. You were marked as someone who worked on the joke. Today, Zunes are collectibles. Not because they're valuable, because they're rare. Most people threw them away. Nobody wanted them, even for free. The Zune is Microsoft's most embarrassing consumer product. And that's saying something, because Microsoft has made a lot of embarrassing products. From iPod killer to punchline in 5 years. That's the Zune story. Before the iPhone, before BlackBerry became huge, there was Palm. And Palm basically invented the smartphone. The Palm Pilot in the late 90s was the first PDA that actually worked. Then in 2002, they released the Treo, a Palm Pilot with a phone built in, touchscreen, keyboard, apps, email, web browsing. This was a smartphone before that word even existed, and the Treo was successful. Business people loved it, doctors used them, lawyers used them. By 2005, Palm was selling millions of Treos. They had 50% of the smartphone market. They were the company. They invented this category. They should have been Apple before Apple. But Palm got comfortable. They thought they were unbeatable. The Treo was successful. So why change it? 2007, the iPhone launches. And Palm executives? They laughed at it. Literally laughed. Ed Colligan, Palm's CEO, he gave an interview where he said, "We've learned and struggled for a few years here, figuring out how to make a decent phone. PC guys are not going to just figure this out. They're not going to just walk in." He was talking about Apple. He thought Apple couldn't make phones because they made computers. He was so arrogant he didn't even see the threat. Meanwhile, the Treo was stagnating. Same design, same operating system, same everything. While Apple was revolutionizing smartphones, Palm was releasing the Treo 755p, which was basically the same as the 700p but slightly faster. 2009. Palm realizes they're dying. The iPhone is dominating. Android is coming. BlackBerry is still strong. And the Treo? It looks ancient. Nobody wants a physical keyboard and a tiny screen anymore. So Palm does something desperate. They create WebOS, a completely new operating system from scratch. And WebOS is actually really good. Beautiful interface, multitasking, innovative gestures. Tech reviewers love it. They released the Palm Pre in June 2009, and it's fine. Not bad, not amazing, just fine. It has WebOS, which is great, but the hardware is cheap. The slider mechanism breaks easily. The battery life is terrible. It's just not competitive with the iPhone. And worse, Palm doesn't have money for marketing. Apple is spending hundreds of millions on iPhone ads. Palm can barely afford billboards. Nobody knows WebOS exists. 2010. Palm is out of money. They're losing millions every quarter. The Pre isn't selling. Developers are abandoning WebOS for iOS and Android. HP buys Palm for $1.2 billion. Not because they want Palm, because they want WebOS. They think they can use WebOS on tablets, on printers, on everything. 2011. HP releases the touchpad, a WebOS tablet meant to compete with the iPad. It's a disaster. Reviews are terrible. Sales are non-existent. HP panics and kills it after 48 days. 48 days. They literally fire sale the touchpad for $99 just to get rid of inventory. People buy them at $99 just to install Android on them because nobody wants WebOS. And that's it. HP kills WebOS. Palm is dead. The entire company, the brand, everything just erased. The people who invented smartphones, who showed everyone what a PDA could be, who created WebOS, they all lost their jobs. The Palm offices got emptied out. Everything got sold off. Here's the tragedy. Palm should have been Apple. They had the head start, they had the technology, they had the market share. But they got complacent. They didn't innovate. They didn't take the iPhone seriously until it was too late. By the time they created WebOS, which was genuinely good, they were already dying. No money for marketing, no developer support, no chance. Today, Palm is completely forgotten. Nobody under 25 even knows what a Treo was. The company that invented smartphones died because they couldn't adapt fast enough. And WebOS, parts of it live on in LG TVs. That's what happened to Palm's innovation. It became the software on budget televisions. From inventing smartphones to completely dead in 10 years, that's the Palm story. Early 2000s. Nokia is the biggest phone company in the world. They're dominating. Everyone has a Nokia, and Nokia looks at Nintendo's Game Boy Advance, which is selling millions, and they think, we should make a gaming phone. Combine a phone with a handheld console. We'll destroy Nintendo. This isn't a crazy idea. Phones are getting more powerful. Why carry a phone and a Game Boy when you could have both? So Nokia creates the N-Gage. They invest massively in it. They're signing deals with game developers, creating exclusive titles, planning huge marketing campaigns. This is Nokia's big play for gaming. October 2003. The N-Gage launches, and immediately, everyone can see it's a disaster. First, the design. It's shaped like a taco. Like, literally. People called it the taco phone. To make a call, you had to hold it sideways against your face. You looked absolutely ridiculous using it. Second, the screen was vertical, but the games were horizontal. So you're holding this taco sideways to play games, and the buttons are all in weird positions. It's uncomfortable and awkward. Third, and this is the most insane part, to change games, you had to remove the battery every single time. You couldn't hot swap games like a Game Boy. You had to turn off the phone, remove the back cover, remove the battery, swap the game card, put the battery back, turn it on. Who designed this? Fourth, it cost $299. The Game Boy Advance cost $99. You could buy 3 Game Boys for the price of one N-Gage. Nokia tried to market the N-Gage to gamers. They had commercials showing cool people playing games on it, making it look like the future of gaming. But gamers took one look at it and laughed. It wasn't a good phone. It was too big, too expensive, too awkward, and it wasn't a good gaming device. The screen was small, the controls were terrible, and the games were mediocre ports. The gaming press destroyed it. IGN gave it a 4 out of 10. GameSpot called it a terrible phone and an even worse gaming device. Penny Arcade, the gaming webcomic, ran a brutal strip making fun of it. And then people started posting pictures online of themselves side-talking, holding the N-Gage sideways to their face like idiots. It became a meme before memes were really a thing. The N-Gage was a joke. Holiday 2003. Nokia projected they'd sell 6 million N-Gages in the first year. They sold less than 500,000, less than 500,000. For context, the Game Boy Advance sold 8 million that same year. The N-Gage wasn't even close to competing. 2004. Nokia tries to save it. They release the N-Gage QD, a redesigned version that fixes some problems. The battery issue is solved. The design is slightly less ridiculous, but nobody cares. The N-Gage brand is toxic. 2006. Nokia quietly discontinues the N-Gage. They try to spin it as we're evolving N-Gage into a platform, but everyone knows what it means. It failed. Total N-Gages sold over 3 years, about 3 million. They needed at least 10 million to break even. Nokia lost hundreds of millions on the N-Gage. The N-Gage didn't kill Nokia. They were too big for that. But it damaged their reputation. It proved that Nokia didn't understand gaming, didn't understand design, and didn't understand what consumers wanted. And it was an early sign that Nokia was losing touch. While they were wasting time and money on the N-Gage, Apple was working on the iPhone. Nokia thought gaming phones were the future. Apple knew smartphones were the future. By the time the iPhone launched in 2007, Nokia was already behind. And the N-Gage disaster meant they didn't have the credibility or resources to compete. The N-Gage is remembered as one of the worst gadgets of the 2000s, not just because it failed, because it was so poorly designed, so poorly thought out, that it became a punchline, from Game Boy killer to taco phone meme in 6 months. That's the N-Gage story. Alright, two more. We've got an entire product category worth billions that disappeared in like 2 years, and then the GPS devices that everyone had until suddenly nobody did. These last two are about entire industries dying. Mid-2000s. Portable DVD players are huge. Like everywhere huge. Every family road trip, someone's got one. Every minivan has screens in the back with DVD players. Airplanes have them in the seats. Hotels rent them. They're a massive industry. In 2005, portable DVD player sales hit $2 billion. $2 billion. Companies like Toshiba, Sony, Philips, they're all making them. There are dozens of brands at every price point from $50 to $500. Parents see them as essential for keeping kids quiet on long drives. Want the kids to behave? Give them a portable DVD player and some Disney movies. It works. This isn't a niche product. This is mainstream. This is Best Buy dedicating entire aisles to them. 2006, 2007. The portable DVD player market is booming. You've got basic models for kids, premium models with big screens, car-specific models with dual screens, ruggedized models for camping. Manufacturers are competing on features, longer battery life, bigger screens, better sound. Some can play DivX files from USB drives. Some have built-in tuners to watch TV. They're adding features constantly, and it's not just for kids. Business travelers use them on planes. College students use them in dorm rooms. They're a legitimate product category with real demand. Nobody thinks this market is going anywhere. DVDs are the standard. Streaming barely exists. Netflix is still mailing DVDs. There's no threat on the horizon. 2007. The iPhone launches. It can play video files. But the screen is small and nobody really uses it for watching movies yet. 2008, 2009. Smartphones are getting better. Android phones, newer iPhones. The screens are bigger. The quality is better. Some people start watching videos on their phones on flights. But portable DVD players are still selling. Parents still buy them for the car. The market is shrinking, but it's not dead yet. 2010. The iPad launches, and that's when everything changes. The iPad has a gorgeous 10-inch screen. You can load movies on it. No DVDs needed. You can download movies on iTunes or stream from Netflix, which is finally becoming viable. And it does everything else: games, web browsing, email. Suddenly, why would you buy a portable DVD player that only plays DVDs when you could buy an iPad that plays videos and does everything else? 2011, 2012. Portable DVD player sales collapse. Not decline, collapse. They drop 40%, then 60%, then 80%. Stores are clearancing them out. Best Buy goes from entire aisles to one small shelf. Walmart is selling them for $29.99 just to get rid of inventory. Manufacturers stop making them. Sony discontinues their line. Philips exits the market. Toshiba stops production. One by one, every major company abandons portable DVD players. By 2013, the market that was $2 billion in 2005 is down to maybe $200 million. And it's only that high because of cheap Chinese brands selling $30 models. 2015. Portable DVD players are basically gone from mainstream retail. You can still buy them on Amazon from no-name brands, but nobody does. The category is dead. Here's what's crazy about this story. It wasn't one company that failed. It was an entire industry, a $2 billion industry that vanished in less than 5 years. All the companies that specialized in portable DVD players, dead or pivoted to other products. All the retail space, gone to tablets. All the accessories, car mounts, extra batteries, cases, worthless. And it wasn't because the products were bad. Portable DVD players worked fine. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They died because tablets could do everything they did, plus everything else. Once you could load movies on an iPad, there was no reason to carry a separate device that only played DVDs. This is what happens when smartphones and tablets mature. Entire product categories just disappear. Digital cameras, GPS devices, MP3 players, portable DVD players, all killed by convergence. Portable DVD players went from a $2 billion industry to completely dead in 5 years, not because they failed, because technology moved past them. Late 2000s. If you drove a car, you probably had a GPS device, a Garmin, a TomTom, a Magellan, one of those things stuck to your windshield. And these weren't cheap. A decent GPS cost $200 to $300. A good one with traffic updates? $400 to $500. But people bought them because getting lost sucked and paper maps were outdated. This was a massive market. In 2008, standalone GPS device sales hit $5 billion. $5 billion. Garmin alone was worth $10 billion as a company. Every car that didn't have built-in navigation had one of these. Rental cars came with them. Truck drivers had professional versions. This was essential technology. Garmin and TomTom were the big two. They dominated the market, constantly competing on features. Better maps, real-time traffic, speed camera warnings, lane assistance, voice directions from celebrity voices. They kept adding features to justify the high prices. And it worked. People upgraded every few years to get the latest maps and features. Garmin and TomTom were printing money. In 2007, Garmin's CEO, Cliff Pemble, he gave an interview where he said portable navigation would be essential for at least the next decade. He wasn't worried about smartphones. The screens were too small. The GPS wasn't accurate enough. Data was too expensive. He was so confident, and he was so wrong. 2007. The iPhone launches with Google Maps built in, but it's not great yet. Slow data, inaccurate GPS, no turn-by-turn directions. Garmin and TomTom aren't worried. 2008. The iPhone 3G launches with real GPS and faster data. Google Maps gets better, but it still doesn't have turn-by-turn navigation. Still not a real threat. 2009. Google adds turn-by-turn navigation to Android phones for free. Free navigation with real-time traffic, automatic rerouting, all built into a device you already own. This is when Garmin and TomTom realize they're in trouble. 2010, iOS adds turn-by-turn navigation. Now every iPhone has free GPS navigation. Every Android phone has free GPS navigation. Why would anyone spend $300 on a dedicated GPS when their phone does it for free? 2010, 2011, 2012. GPS device sales collapse faster than anyone predicted. Garmin's stock drops 70%. TomTom's stock drops 80%. Companies that were worth billions are suddenly worth a fraction of that. They try to compete. They drop prices. $300 devices become $150, then $100, then $50. They add features, larger screens, lifetime map updates, voice recognition. Nothing works. The problem isn't features or price. The problem is convergence. Nobody wants to carry a separate device when their phone does the same thing. And it's not just sales. Retail space disappears. Best Buy goes from dedicating wall space to GPS devices to having maybe one small display. Walmart moves them to the clearance electronics section. By 2013, the standalone GPS market is down 60% from its peak. By 2015, it's down 80%. It's not dead yet, but it's dying fast. Garmin and TomTom didn't die. They're still around, but they had to completely transform. Garmin pivoted to aviation GPS, marine GPS, fitness watches. They basically abandoned consumer automotive GPS and went to specialized markets where smartphones couldn't compete. TomTom pivoted to B2B, selling mapping data to other companies. They licensed their maps to Apple, to automotive manufacturers, to logistics companies. They're not a consumer brand anymore, but thousands of employees lost their jobs. Entire divisions got shut down. Retail partnerships evaporated. The consumer GPS business that was worth billions became worthless. And all the third-party companies, the ones making GPS accessories, mounts, cases, car chargers, dead. An entire ecosystem vanished because smartphones included GPS. Here's what's insane about this story. The standalone GPS market went from $5 billion to basically nothing in about 5 years. 5 years. 2008, $5 billion market, growing, confident. 2013, maybe $1 billion, shrinking fast. 2018, under $500 million, mostly commercial Cs specialized. That's not a slow decline, that's an execution. Smartphones didn't just compete with GPS devices, they completely replaced them almost overnight. And Garmin and TomTom saw it coming but couldn't stop it. How do you compete with free? How do you convince someone to buy a $200 device when their $600 phone does it better for free? You can't. You just watch your industry die. Today, if you see someone with a dedicated GPS device, they're either old-school truckers using professional equipment, or they're elderly people who don't trust smartphones. Everyone else? Google Maps or Apple Maps on their phone. The standalone GPS is dead. So there you have it. 5 gadgets from the 2000s you probably forgot existed. The Microsoft Zune, brown, ugly, and dead in 5 years despite $1 billion invested. The Palm Treo, the company that invented smartphones and died because they couldn't adapt. The Nokia N-Gage, the taco phone that tried to kill the Game Boy and became a meme instead. Portable DVD players, a $2 billion industry that vanished when the iPad launched. And standalone GPS devices, a $5 billion market killed by free smartphone apps. And here's the pattern. Every single one of these was killed by convergence, by smartphones and tablets that did everything these devices did, plus more. The Zune played music, the iPhone played music and was a phone and had apps. The Treo was a smartphone, but the iPhone was a better smartphone. The N-Gage tried to be a phone and a gaming device. The iPhone was both. Portable DVD players played movies, iPads played movies, and did everything else. GPS devices gave directions. Smartphones gave directions for free. The 2000s were the decade when we learned that specialized devices were dying. That convergence was the future. That one device that does everything beats 5 devices that each do one thing. These gadgets didn't fail because they were bad. They failed because the world moved past them faster than anyone expected. If you want more stories about forgotten tech and how entire industries disappeared, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments. Did you own any of these? A Zune? A Palm Treo? Did you have a portable DVD player in your minivan? I'd love to hear about it. All right, see you in the next one.